brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.
It's the beginning of another week. Good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from news about Desawe Kanda. Also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, police CID justifies the arrest of former Gihok boss Maxwell Kofi Juma, insisting he is the subject of a probe of alleged theft of 3 cars belonging to the state-owned enterprise. Stay with us. We've got details for you and a reaction. Also, on the show tonight, the Attorney General is pushing for an expedited hearing of the SkyTrain scandal, insisting one of the accused persons is seeking to delay the trial. We'll tell you what we've gotten from the Attorney General. Stay with us exclusively here on Ghana Tonight. Also, on crime-related matters, the CID has been providing updates on its probe of mining firm Akonta Mining. Of details for you, and also the Ghana Coalition Against Illegal Mining. They're upbeat on this. They still have more questions from the CID of the Ghana Police Service to answer. As always, you're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Well, let's settle for Ghana Breeze.
The National President of the Ghana Bar Association, Ifua Gate, has called for a reconsideration of the suspension of Gertrude Saki Tokunu as Chief Justice, noting it sets a bad precedent in the country. Former NPP presidential aspirant Kwabena Ejipong supported the call. They made the call at the 43rd anniversary remembrance service of the 3 High Court judges who were murdered in 1982.
These are very minor infractions. Very minor infractions that should not occasion the removal of a person so important in the governance of our country. And you're not careful, it may constitute a certain assault on the judiciary, which we all, a day like this, reminds us of. So it's something that is worrying. I pray and hope that he listens to the appeal made by the Ghana Bar Association.
The minority in Parliament has condemned Iyoko's arrest and bail conditions for Alhaji Abdul Hanan Wahab, former NAFCO CEO and NPP parliamentary candidate for Pusiga. They described the arrest of Wahab and his wife as excessive and politically motivated, alleging abuse of state power. The couple is under investigation for tax evasion, money laundering and causing financial loss, but no formal charges have been filed. The minority is particularly alarmed by what they call harsh and unjustified bail conditions. 50 million Ghana cedis for Wahab and 30 million Ghana cedis for his wife, both with strict asset-based surety requirements. Chief Executive Officer of Gold Board, Sami Jemfi, says the June 21 deadline mandating purchase of gold from a central source would not be extended. He cautioned persons who have not applied for the board's license to do so or face the full rigors of the law.
Effective immediately, only a Ghanaian who has gone through the lay-down due process and has been issued with a license by the Ghana Gold Board can legally engage in gold trading in Ghana. What that simply means is that if you are not licensed by the Ghana Gold Board, you are committing a crime.
The Police Criminal Investigations Department, CID, has confirmed the arrest of Maxwell Kofi Juma, the former managing director of Greyhawk Distilleries. 3 vehicles that he is said to have stolen have also been retrieved following allegations of financial misconduct, questionable vehicle acquisitions, and others. The CID has also indicated that investigations are actively ongoing concerning Akonta Mining, with 1 person arrested.
Chairman Wontumi has visited us a couple of times. He's also actually supposed to be coming back to us sometime this week. Unfortunately, he was ill. His lawyer submitted a letter to us that he was ill, and I believe he's now okay because we have communicated to them that he should be seeing us this week. I must mention that he's not the only one we've arrested or we are investigating. Last week, for example, he had a partner, one Akwoku, who was part of the investigation to do with Akonta Mining.
Ghanaians are set to experience significant economic shifts starting tomorrow, July 1, 2025, as several key government policies and tariff adjustments take effect. These changes involve the rollout of the much-anticipated 24-hour economy, substantial tax reforms, and increases in the cost of essential services and commodities.
These factors that you have mentioned, they affect cost of production differently. And once some of them goes up, obviously you need to look at it. You are saying that it's just 2.45%. But for a company that is using a lot of energy, there's still companies.
Okay.
This 2.45%, it's not a small money.
Well, there's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. Remember, it's brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, and the Sasso Insecticide Spray and Welcome Tum Precom. Coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, the Attorney General has filed a motion seeking an abridgment of time to hear an application on this matter of the SkyTrain scandal. And if you've been following us here on Ghana Tonight, we've been giving you consistent updates on how this particular case is evolving after that press conference, the last press conference by the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine. Well, legal affairs correspondent is right here with me, Joseph Akablabe. We have the latest on this matter, and it's going to get into it. It's always good to have you, Joseph. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Alfred.
Wonderful.
This is one of the big stories that many have been looking out for. We know that in the last couple of weeks, conversations have centered around issues relating to Operation Recover or Loot. People want to see the case progressing in a fast manner. Now, this one has to do with the SkyTrain saga.
Fantastic. What are we finding out? What's the latest to this?
The latest is that the Attorney General has filed an application asking the High Courts to hear an application that has been filed on July 3 instead of July 9. Now, let me walk you through a bit of context to put it in much perspective for you. The first is that we know that the former Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund CEO, Solomon Asamoah, is standing trial for his alleged role in the $2 million loss to the state in the SkyTrain project. We know that he's standing trial alongside a former board chairman of GIF, Professor Alfred Ocansey. So the two are standing trial in relation to this.
Yeah.
The application by lawyers for Mr. Asamoah makes the point that the trial is premature. They go on to say that the Supreme Court should be allowed to interpret portions of the Public Property Protection Act. And the fact of the matter is that one of the charges against him has to do with portions, Section 7 of the Public Protection Act. It makes the point that if you dissipate public property, it creates an offense and you can be charged for that offense. And his lawyers are saying that, well, to the extent that he has been charged under that particular law, they find Section 1 and 7 of that law to be inconsistent with portions of the Constitution, specifically Article 19, which is a provision that deals with issues surrounding fair trial. And so they asked the High Court that, look, put proceedings on hold because the Constitution says that if you want a matter to be interpreted, send it over to the Supreme Court for interpretation. Now, they also say that the trial should remain suspended until the Supreme Court interpretation comes in relation to the Public Protection Act 1977, SMCD 140. Now, the Office of the Attorney General has been replying. That's the latest updates that we are bringing. Documents filed in court by Dr. Justice Remsai, the Deputy Attorney General. He makes the point that first, the case should be heard on July 3 instead of July 9. And he explains that when a person makes an application to a court and files documents, that individual must be ready to argue the application. And so as far as he's concerned, you file the process has been filled for hearing on the 9th, but he says that he should be ready to argue. So come on July 3 for us to make the argument. He goes on to say that the application that has been filed is geared at delaying the trial. And he says speedy trial is commanded by the Constitution and should be enforced by the court. And so this is the latest update coming from the Office of the Attorney General, Dr. Justice Remsai, urging the court that let's have the hearing earlier. And so they've asked the court to have the hearing on July 3 instead of the July 9 that has been fixed by the registry of the court, because they believe that their entire application is geared at delaying the court, and they simply want the matter to be dealt with expeditiously, Alfred.
I see, and the suspicion of delay tactics on the part of these persons who are being accused in this particular case. But how about that concern that as to whether this could, hearing this case on July 3 would lead to a miscarriage of justice, essentially? Does this respond to that?
As far as the AG is concerned, I mean, the point that Dr. Justice Remsai makes in the documents that he's filed is to the effect that when you make a request to a court, it obviously means that you are ready to back it up. You are ready to convince the court as to why the court should grant your request. And so once you've put those documents before the court, and the court has on its own fixed hearing for July 9, if you're a person that you are of interest and you want to raise your matter immediately, then when you come earlier, it doesn't make any difference. That's the argument that he's making. We know that the lawyers for the accused persons have said right from the onset and even in the court process that, well, look, our clients are innocent of the allegations against them. We also know that we've seen happen in even other trials that are currently underway as part of the Operation Recover All Loots, that the accused persons at various times make various requests onto the state. We can make reference to the case involving the former director of the National Signals Bureau, where the lawyers have made an application asking for a tall list of documents, including transactions of the national security accounts dating back to even the Kufuor and the Rawlings era, among all of that. All those are requests that the lawyers will be making in the course of this. And what the state is also trying to do is also to ensure that the court balances the interest of the accused person with that of the interest of the state and also the interest of everyone, to ensure that this is a matter that is dealt with expeditiously. And so this one that will be argued out on July 3, the court would have to first answer the question of whether it should even have the hearing on July 3 or you should wait and have the hearing on July 9.
And that will determine the next steps of this case that we're following quite closely, is it not?
Yeah, that will be determined the next step. And the case is still at the very initial stages. I mean, the prosecution is just yet to even open and go through its entire case. And so we are at very early stages yet. And those who are looking out for conclusion on these matters, it comes back to the point that the legal practitioners will make all the time, that the rules of justice does grind quite slowly sometimes.
And we'll see how things play out. I know you're following this quite closely every step of the way. Joseph Akablay is our senior legal affairs correspondent here. Appreciate you for this. And this is Ghana Tonight. And this is one that we got some exclusive detail from the Office of the Attorney General on this particular SkyTrain scandal. That let's stay a bit further with matters of law. This time around, the Ghana Bar Association today, that's coming up next. The national president has been talking, and that's Efo Agate, called for a reconsideration of the suspension of Getu Saki Tokono. That's coming up next year on Ghana Tonight as Chief Justice, noting it sets a bad precedent in the country. Stay with us. This is matter that we're getting into right here on Ghana Tonight. And while at it, earlier today, the woman you just saw there, the president, national president of the Ghana Bar Association, indicating that there should be a reconsideration of the suspension of her ladyship, Justice Getu Tokono, as Chief Justice, while this process of her hearing is ongoing. Well, she gave reasons for that, indicating that this entire process sets a bad precedent. These are the words of the national president of the Ghana Bar Association. Take a look.
They stand for justice, and they should administer justice to all persons, including themselves. We are confident that in the spirit of reconciliation, all the various calls made for a reconsideration of the suspension of the Chief Justice in the circumstances, as it sets a poor precedent, precedent will not go unheeded. We yearn for peace and strive for justice.
Well, she was not alone in commenting about the suspended Chief Justice matter. Kwabena Japan, one-time presidential, that's a flag bearer hopeful of the NPP, also had this to say, indicated that what he has seen and what he has heard, the details of the petitions against the Chief Justice are, in his view, minor and doesn't necessarily warrant a decision to suspend her. Take a look at this.
These are very minor infractions that should not occasion the removal of a person so important in the governance of our country. And you're not careful, it may constitute a certain assault on the judiciary, which we all, a day like this, reminds us of. So it's something that is worrying. I pray and hope that he listens to the appeal made by the Ghana Bar Association, because for me this should...
Well, so that's the position as espoused by Kwabena Japan, and there's been a number of reactions to this as well, and how this matter is actually playing out, and especially with those who have raised fundamental questions about the position of the Ghana Bar Association. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner, is going to be joining me in a bit. All these two persons you just heard, they made the call at the 43rd anniversary remembrance service of the 3 High Court judges who were murdered in 1982. And today being the Martyrs' Day and the reflections on the day and the demands going forward. Shortly, we'll be joined by Martin Pebo, who's going to be sharing his thoughts with us on this particular matter here on Ghana Tonight. We're also live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. Stay with us. I'm going to go for this quick break in the next 2 minutes. When we're back, Martin Pebo is going to be joining us to have a conversation on the position as espoused by the national president of the Ghana Bar Association. We'll be back shortly.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know M-Punch Homeopathy Clinic. M-Punch Homeopathy Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about M-Punch Homeopathy Clinic. Who will be careful M-Punch one?
Chesena me ankasa me period no say problems wom tina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na mkwan point no mo hwe me mogya mu no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro me fae no ene ma won kra mienu foforo kwa na mkwan mu a eba
head everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko end point o mama nura ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's end point for you. Acrobato. Hello. Hey, ohwehwe what chair. Okay. A free bra wo di end point wa dance. Ah me call you no. Me Johnson sema na enkoyie empeso na my emre nyina na magina sebema na me no be fie for there e ho na nyina jaresa. You heard everything. I have secret. M-Punch is my secret. M-Punch Homeopathy Clinic.
If whiskey could talk, Johnny Walker Black Label would sing. With notes that only come with 12 years in a barrel. Sweet, smooth toffee, rich fruit, and a touch of smoke. Tastes as good as it sounds.
Drink responsibly, not for sale to persons under 18 years of age. Not recommended for pregnant women. This advert is FDA approved.
Why are more and more professionals choosing Flamingo paint?
As an interior decorator, I aim for that beautiful, elegant look. Flamingo paint has great hiding ability to cover and transform old walls easily with just one coat.
Impressive.
For me, as a professional painter, I love Flamingo paint because it is small paints that paint huge area, meaning more profit for me.
Great value for money.
As an architect, Flamingo paint, with its well-researched and solid composition, guarantees durability for all my buildings.
Flamingo Paint. Superior highness, superior coverage, superior durability. Flamingo Paint. Simply superior.
In my line of work, a confident smile is everything. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste keeps me on top of my game and ensures my smile is always radiant and bright.
With the tiring nature of my job, we spend several hours under the scorching sun. To keep our teeth white and our breath fresh all the time, we use none other than Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. You're on a Kessie and in a kit one.
Samayo Kendini, a who be here, Semetra Sapapadia to a mammy mouthful. Kel Charcoal's natural ingredients, and a bomb is several buying, a man swing, Nesasu Mama Hotel so a will bedroom.
Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Choose Kel Charcoal Toothpaste for anti-cavity, whiter teeth, and fresher breath all day. Available in 80 gram and 150 gram. Grab yours today.
Kel, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Yes, next. Hey, Nadia Benson,
Me didn't tum. Mr. Friendly Calico, just call me cockroach. Now, Mr. Friendly once now. Hey, that's you. Improve car. Yeah. Captain Mosquito, double the accent. Me did this sasso spray. Mr. Friendly sasso quell. Yeah, go to my sasso.
Tom Preco.
When you're low on energy and need a break, give yourself a treat. Cadbury Hot Chocolate. Smooth. Crafted from cocoa, milk, and sugar. Creamy. Chocolatey. Frothy goodness. Rich taste. So satisfying.
Cadbury goodness, the treats you deserve every day. This advert is FDA approved.
Aye, malaria's remedy is Lonat. Therefore, we're gonna use Lonat to recover. You have malaria? Yes, please. Are you shivering?
Yes.
You got chills?
Yes.
Take Lonat.
Lonat.
First day.
Lonat.
Take Lonat. Second day.
Lonat.
Take Lonat.
Lonat.
Third day.
Lonat.
Take Lonat. That's all. Lonat scatter malaria. Lonat it scatter malaria.
This advert is FDA approved.
If whiskey could talk, Johnny Walker Black Label would sing. With notes that only come with 12 years in a barrel. Sweet, smooth toffee, rich fruit, and a touch of smoke. Tastes as good as it sounds.
Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under 18 years of age. Not recommended for pregnant women. This advert is FDA approved.
Wherever the action, whatever the story, how high the stakes, we have all the updates, the analysis, the exclusive interviews, plus the full and complete story always.
Sports Daily shows Monday to Friday at 10:30 a.m. on TV3.
They stand for justice, and they should administer justice to all persons, including themselves. We are confident that in the spirit of reconciliation, all the various calls made for a reconsideration of the suspension of the Chief Justice in the circumstances, as it sets a poor precedent, will not go unheeded. We yearn for peace and strive for justice.
Well, that's the national president. Welcome back to Ghana tonight, and that's the national president of the Ghana Bar Association there. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. Thankfully, is joining us on Zoom right now. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us. First off, that's the position, in fact, the proposal by the Ghana Bar Association that in their word, the words of the national president, there should be a reconsideration or the decision to suspend the Chief Justice should be reviewed, stressing that it sets a poor precedent, essentially. Is it one that, from where you sit, can be considered in this context as was put earlier today?
Yes. So it's adding on. Yes, it's adding on to the voices that we should, but you see, there's a digression, actually, there are divergence of views. So just reconsider the suspension, meaning the Chief Justice should come and continue. That one, I disagree. If it is lifting the suspension, like Kweku Ansah, former director of the law school, said under Article 146(11), so that the Chief Justice will be allowed to resign, yes. But if GBA is saying lift the suspension so that should come back and continue as CJ, no, that one I disagree with the GBA. You see, the GBA should not play ostrich. Even the Chief Justice referred to the petition and sought to answer the petition. And you see, as she was answering, you see that there's also the other side. Daniel Ofori and the other people also have the right to respond, but because of the constitutional injunction in Article 146, Clause 8, that the proceedings should be held in camera, which the Supreme Court has interpreted in the Paul Derry case versus Anas, Tiger PI, that's Anas Arimiyao Anas's company, that it includes even the petition, etc. That's keeping all of those things secret. You know, we cannot, that's how come the Daniel Ofori, etc. will not respond, okay? Yes, otherwise, they would have responded. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that from the Chief Justice's own answer, it tells you that there is a case for proper investigation, because you see, she spent about 47 minutes in the press conference talking about this, and that's even a summary. So the more she talked, then the more it told you that the cases were complex, so they needed proper investigations, as the committee is doing now. So to say that lift the suspension, let Chief Justice Tokonu return to office, I think the GBA was playing ostrich. GBA was playing ostrich. It's not necessary. See, such populism is not good for our democracy. It's not good. I don't support that one. The one I support is that if the suspension will be lifted and then she would resign. So I'm saying that, notwithstanding that, I know 3 of the Supreme Court decisions that say that once the proceedings begin, a person who is responding cannot be allowed to resign. Yes, I'm also saying that at the time the Supreme Court made that rule, they never contemplated that there would be a Chief Justice who would fight back openly like this. Because trust me, the press conference Chief Justice Tokonu held, it's not the last. She would come again, most likely from a previous conduct, utterances, etc. She will come again. She's likely to come again and come. So, and you see, with the way she's putting out the case in the media, yet the committee cannot respond, it's actually hurting our judiciary and ipso facto our democracy. So why should we continue to sacrifice the democratic gains we've made just to be able to, let's say, go through a full trial? No, sometimes it's better we cut our losses and allow the person to resign. Perhaps it can be a rule that, certain rules can be made. I think the more people join in that, well, notwithstanding 3 Supreme Court decisions about not allowing somebody going through Article 146 proceedings to resign, perhaps it's possible to make an exception so that we can save our democracy. Because right now, I'm not sure anybody is happy with the press conference and the outcomes and the conversation it is generated and so on and so forth.
Right, but Counsel, so earlier when I spoke to the head of public relations for the Ghana Bar Association, Xavier Koji, he indicated, yes, they are not against the process as it's playing out because it is constitutional. In Article 1466 to 10, as we're seeing playing out now, leading to the suspension of the Chief Justice. What they say, the Ghana Bar Association says, is that this is setting a dangerous and poor precedent, essentially.
The petitions with the details, but it's leaked. Most of us have read. Yes, the things that are stated in there are no child's play. So I'm surprised the GBA wants to play to the gallery. Look at what the very things that the Chief Justice, mentioned. The very things that she mentioned and sought to answer. And even by going, wading into other uncharted territories that were not even made part of the petition, where she even said that she's never taken a bribe. And you see, it's created a lot of disquiet among judges, because then you see that others have come to say she's interpreting that some judges are taking bribes, etc. Then you see that it's even further created trouble, where people have then also raised the contract to her daughter. That how did her daughter get a contract to do decor for her office? You see the Pandora's box she's opening, etc. So I think the GBA is not being fair to Ghanaians when they say the suspension creates a dangerous precedent. They should read and see the other extensions, especially when the matter of the daughter's contract is mentioned. You see it, because she brought it in by saying she's never been taking a bribe, etc. Then people are saying, but your daughter's contract, how did she get a contract to do decor in your own office? How? You see it. And there are more that people have just chosen not to speak about. And so the GBA should spare Ghanaians this play to the gallery. It's not healthy for our democracy. It's not healthy. Let's be very objective. You see, certain parts of the petition that we think we should give her support, you see that I have not been shy to say so openly. For example, I've said that I support that she should be allowed to go in with at least 2 relatives, right, to give her emotional support. Then also the question of the prima facie ruling that she says she hasn't received a copy of. I'm sure something can be done. It should be released to her. So you see that these are things that I think, yes, of course, the Supreme Court has held failure to give a detailed prima facie ruling by itself cannot nullify the case. But because even as far back as over 20 years ago, this same matter came up in the Chachu-Chikata case, and the Supreme Court said, yes, failure to give prima facie case doesn't nullify the case, but it is desirable. It helps, you see, for transparency. Remember that, transparency, because you remember they tell you that justice not only ought to be done, but ought manifestly to be seen to be done. You see, it has to be clear. The manner in which justice is done has to be very clear to everybody. You see, so you see 2 things I've been able to mention that, yes, if she was given these 2 facilities, the ruling for the prima facie, and also if she was allowed to go in with 2 relations, it can be friends, 2 persons of her choosing to give her support, it would help, you see, the process. So you see, things like that have been objective. But for the GBA to just say that it will set a dangerous precedent without addressing the matters in the petition that Chief Justice Tokono has addressed, I think it's rather the GBA is rather a dangerous precedent for our democracy, because a GBA that would not do legal analysis but would hang on to playing on to the gallery is not a GBA that is good for our democracy. Rather, such a GBA is a dangerous organization for our democracy.
Well, so you reference the details of the petitions, which you've been consistent that you don't want to go into the details of it. Kwabena J. Japan referenced what he has heard and read, and he says that the issues he's heard and read about the petition, the details of it against the Chief Justice, are minor, and in his view, minor of infractions that should not necessarily warrant the suspension of the Chief Justice as we're having now. I want to take a listen to him, and I'll ask you questions on the basis of that. Take a look.
These are very minor infractions that should not occasion the removal of a person so important in the governance of our country. And you're not careful, it may constitute a certain assault on the judiciary, which we all, a day like this, reminds us of. So it's something that is worrying. I pray and hope that he listens to the appeal made by the Ghana Bar Association, because for me, this should...
So Martin Bebo, there you have it. Per his own analysis, as Kwabena J. Japan says, what is heard and read, the gravamen of the issues are minor. That should necessarily lead to a suspension. I mean, how do you then get into? Is there any measurement to, as it were, determine the gravamen of the issues so as to then conclude that it is minor, essentially?
I don't agree at all. So once again, I'll not go into the merits, but because a lot of viewers and listeners have read the petition, so they will know these are very weighty matters, very, very weighty. I mean, I understand that in a democracy, we should have a plurality of voices. Yes, plurality of voices, divergent opinions, etc. But please, those matters that are in the petitions are very serious matters. So we shouldn't, sweep them under the carpet and begin to play politics. It's not good. That's rather not good for our democracy. Let's be, as objective as possible. So you see mine. I've been objective. I've shown you what I think can be done to improve. And I've been consistent from day one. I've been consistent that no, let the relations, two persons come in, even if they are not relations and or friends that she chooses. Two, give her the prima facie ruling. It doesn't hurt anything. You see, so I've been objective. But when it comes to the substance of the petitions, for anybody to say these are minor, is that the same Kwabena J. Japan who wants to be a presidential candidate for Ghana?
Yes. That he once contested the flag bearership of the NPP. There hasn't been any clear indication whether he's going to contest again. But yes, he wanted to be flag bearer of the NPP. Council.
Kwabena J. Japan wants to be president of Ghana with these kind of opinions. Then his presidential bid is dead on arrival because nobody will take him serious if this is how he's going to start his campaign. No one will take him serious. Yeah.
Well, much people appreciate your time on this. I thank you very much for joining us here with your thoughts on this matter. And this is a rolling stone that is obviously going to gather a lot of dust as we're going on. I thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. This is Ghana Tonight. But coming up next on Ghana Tonight, away from the matters of law and also the matters today, there's been a lot that's been happening with the CID. The former managing director of Gihawk Distilleries, Maxwell Kofi Juma, the man you see on the screen there, has been granted bail in the sum of 500,000 cedis with two sureties following his arrest in connection with the alleged theft of company vehicles. Now, his bail was granted, from what we're learning today, after he made an appearance at the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service headquarters earlier today, where he had been held. Now, the Ghana Police Service confirmed the arrest during a press briefing earlier today, addressed by Deputy Commissioner of Police, DCOP Lydia Donko. She stated that the arrest was carried out after an official complaint was lodged by Gihok Distilleries as a company. They lodged this official complaint that led to the arrest of Maxwell Kofi Juma. Take a look at this.
Mr. Maxwell Kofi Juma was arrested based on a complaint that was, or a petition that was submitted to us by the Gihok Distilleries Company Limited. We received a petition to the effect that some vehicles which were the property of that company had been stolen by the said Maxwell Kofi Juma. Warrants for arrest was properly secured, and that was the basis for which he was arrested, and he's in our custody at the CID headquarters and is assisting with investigation. I must mention that as at this afternoon, we have retrieved 3 vehicles. So the said vehicles that were stolen by him have been retrieved. So he's really assisting us with the investigation, and then we will take it up from there.
Also, that's the CID giving updates on the arrest of Maxwell Kofi Juma. What do you see behind me? I'm going to put out on the screen right now. These are the state-owned enterprise. Gihok is a state-owned enterprise, okay? And you recall the president, John Dramani Mahama, had cause to question why the company was making losses because, you know, when Ghanaians are happy, we drink. When we are sad, we drink. And so if there's a company that's in that industry, it certainly would be having questions to answer why it's posting some losses. But according to the state-owned, that's the SIGA, the State Interest Governance Authority, that's the source of this information you're seeing there. These companies posted profit between 2019 and 2023. Buipa Authority, ESLA PLC, Ghana National Gas Company, Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, the State Housing Company, TDC, Tema Development Company, they all posted profit within this period. And the figures you see there, 197.6 million within 2019, Buipa Authority posted this profit. And then also we saw Ghana Gas, and it follows in that order. But you don't see Gihok. And I'm going to show you the fortunes of Gihok. At least from what we got to know between 2022 and 2023, this is the loss. They actually posted a loss of 25.1 million cedis in 2022. And then also that loss increased to 25.5 million cedis in 2023. So this is not a company that is doing too well, okay? Yeah, and that's why questions have been raised as to how, all of these decisions taken by the former CEO, Martin. Let's go on to Zoom right now. Adam Senano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Mr. Senano, appreciate your time. This is a matter you've been following quite closely because this news of Maxwell Kofi Juma, the former CEO, taking vehicles, had been in the news for quite a while. Until now, we're hearing that Gihok, as a company itself, then petitioned the CID. It's upon that an arrest has been made. They've retrieved 3 of the vehicles, and some of which we're going to show on the screen as we go on, some of the vehicles that have been retrieved from him. I mean, this is a company that is not doing too well. The former CEO takes a vehicle. Upon leaving office, he has to take the CID to go and retrieve the vehicles. I mean, how does all of this strike you?
Under normal circumstances, things like this should happen. I mean, when an entity is loss-making, the rules of engagement, of rewards, everything gets affected because you are looking at the bottom line, which is supposed to be profit. And so the entity in a normal thing would take into cognizance the fact that we've made losses. And if you're the chief executive, usually you want to show that you are demonstrating leadership and responsibility. And so certain entitlements, you may want to cut down on that. Substantively, in my mind, the thing is what kind of assessment was done for that vehicle to be priced and given away at that, cost. Usually, if I'm right, the public sector uses assessors, from STC, and other professionals. So the question is, was there proper assessment done before they determined that to be the price or the value of that vehicle after, and I don't know whether you're talking about 2024, which will make it just after 5 years. So it's not really that it's a 10-year-old car, which can be, and sometimes, they do this 10-year cycle where it's like you are writing down the value of the asset. So there are questions to be answered. A question is, what are the internal systems for assessing such vehicles? Because it's unlikely that a five-year-old vehicle will be that low in terms of value. Again, if you're the chief executive of an entity which is loss-making, what is your responsibility to ensuring that the bottom line of profit has been gained? And if there was no profit,
right,
what is the implication for all the other pecs that you have? I think those are questions we should be asking the entity in terms of the systems in place.
The CRD is still investigating this matter and the details as we had it today. He's been granted bail. I mean, you're neck deep into anti-corruption. I mean, how does all of this look like from the optics perspective, essentially?
Honestly, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look, the optics are very bad. The optics are bad. We shouldn't have situations where loss-making entities are giving dash-away vehicles, etc. That shouldn't be happening. It should not be the case that a 5-year-old vehicle can be priced next to virtually nothing. I mean, the values you're talking about, 400,000 equivalent down to 14,000. That's not even 10% of the original value in a 5-year period. That's not likely to happen under normal circumstances. So it raises serious questions of accountability. And definitely we need to ask the entity itself who was responsible for the assessment. And I think the chief executive himself should be questioned, because if you're making losses, on what basis do you take such decisions?
Right. I appreciate your thoughts on this. Adam Sonano is a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Now let's stay with the CID of the Ghana Police Service. Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department, DCOP Lydia Donko, again at the same press conference indicated that investigations into the operations of Akonta Mining, owned by Ashanti Regional Chair of the New Patriotic Party, Bernard Entry Buesiakom, that's coming up next here on Ghana Tonight. Chairman Wontumi, ongoing. She's saying one other person has also been arrested in relation to this same matter of Akonta Mining. Take a look.
That case is also actively ongoing. Chairman Wontumi has visited us a couple of times. He's also actually supposed to be coming back to us sometime this week. Unfortunately, he was ill. His lawyer submitted a letter to us that he was ill, and I believe he's now okay, because we have communicated to them that he should be seeing us this week, and they have responded. So that investigation is also actively ongoing. I must mention that he's not the only one we've arrested or we are investigating. There are a number of people that we are considering persons of interest. Last week, for example, he had a partner, one Akwoku, who was part of the investigation to do with Akonta Mining. He was also arrested here and detained. We've taken statements from him and we are continuing with that investigation. So I want to assure you that that particular investigation is actively ongoing, and when we are done, we will definitely inform the public on the final action. Thank you.
So that's the update on Akonta Mining and investigations by the CID of the Ghana Police Service. We recall that a number of individuals and a group as well petitioned the former CID boss on this matter of Akonta Mining, and I'm talking about the Ghana Coalition Against Illegal Mining, and then also you had Adam Sonano, Martin Pebo as well in there, Senor Jose and all the others. Well, thankfully we have the convener for the Ghana Coalition Against Illegal Mining, the newly appointed CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Engineer Dr. Ken Ashibe, is joining us on Zoom right now. Engineer Dr. Ken Ashibe, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Thank you very much, Alfred, and thank you for having me.
And great. Congratulations to you in order. This is the first time we're talking after your appointment as CEO of Ghana Chamber of Mines.
You mean me being recruited as a CEO of Ghana of Mines? Sometimes when you say appointment, it's as if it's a government appointment.
Okay, you being recruited.
Yes.
It's a fair point. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Hearing the CID, the new CID boss, indicate that Akonta Mining investigation is an active one, is ongoing, and another person has been arrested, interrogated in this particular Akonta Mining case. How does this strike you, as against what you experienced previously when you petitioned the CID?
Well, thank you very much. I think that the point has to be made that it had to take, after the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources had done his painstaking investigation, it took forever for any action to be, for us to hear of any action. It had to take the coalition again putting out a press release based on which the arrest was made. And it is gratifying to note that, it is an active case and there's movement on it. The interesting thing is that there are two directors of Akonta Mining. So the name the Director General CID mentioned is no, I don't recall that is the other director. I'm hoping that he also, as a director of the firm, will be invited to also aid the investigations. Because it was the company that sinned against the Minerals and Mining Act as amended 2019, Act 995. And we're hoping that this case would travel the full haul. It is important that, as we stated when we met the minister who stood in for the president last week, Friday, that the destroyers should be made to pay. If you take Akonta Mining, for example, the allegation against them is a Paprama forest. And if you look at the extent of the damage that has been done to the Paprama forest, we are hoping that there will be successful prosecution. Not only what the current Minister for Lands and Natural Resources has done, but what happened in 2022, based on which we did our initial petition. All of those cases would be combined together, and we would hopefully have a successful prosecution.
See, but then again, we see the direction that all of this is taking, especially because, as you indicated, you had concerns about the posturing of the CID hierarchy previously. What are you expecting of this new CID, especially with this update we've gotten now, that this is an active investigation? How do you expect the next days to be like?
Well, so we are hoping that, all the investigations that have been done, work that have been done by the Forestry Commission and the investigators, all the work that have been done we're hoping that the investigators will do a good job so that the prosecution would also take it up. And again, this is a very important and a landmark case. It's a case in which we got the former president tell us in Koforidua that Akonta Mining was not involved in Galamsey as we speak, when we had asked the question about activities that Akonta Mining has done. This is a case in which the former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources had declared, that Akonta Mining was involved in an illegality. It was confirmed by the chief executive of the Minerals Commission, who are the regulators of the space as well. So and then you also had, beyond what they were doing in Aproprama, the Tanonimre Forest Reserve, there was also indication that even outside the Tanonimre Forest Reserve, where they had their concession, that they were breaching the buffer policy, and their water was getting into the tunnel. And so we are hoping that all of that will be brought, including the skirmishes that happened between workers of Akonta Mining and the people of Samraboy that had to take the police to go and separate it. All of those things are evidence that we are hoping that will be brought to bear so far as this case is concerned.
We've seen some action on the part of Dr. Hannah Bishiu, who, together with her team, have visited a number of these Galamsey-prone areas and led the arrest of some foreign nationals and also Ghanaians who are involved in illegal mining. I mean, how does all of that upbeat approach I mean, from the perspective of the Ghana Coalition Against Illegal Mining, strike you?
Well, I think that earlier on, when Dr. Anabisu had started, her activism, we saw her going against these criminals that had some police commanders being complicit in it, and we were worried about it. But it's important that now that the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources have consolidated and now have a task force that is fighting illegal mining, that brings the military, brings the police, bring the national security. It's important that Dr. Hanabisu, should know that now there is a consolidated force that is in power. And so she has to stop what it is that she's doing. Everything that she is doing, she has to do with this particular force, which is under her minister, and so it is important that that happens. And to see that she's still carrying on this activity when there is a team that is put together where, and again, when we met the minister, one of the things that was said was the fact that, we did not want the situations where separate forces were running all amok, following these particular things, and there was no control. Alfred, you would hear, all you would hear is that there's some national security people here doing an operation which is not coordinated. It is on the back of that the minister, I'm sure through the president, His Excellency the President, has empowered the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, who have the responsibility of dealing with this particular issue. So I think that Honorable Anabisu should now focus on her mandate, the mandate that have been given to her to manage this particular fund, and allow the forces of state, those who are empowered by her minister, to actually do the work that they're doing. Otherwise, this thing where we have multiple people doing it, it's not in the right direction. And I remember when we went to meet up with the minister, all the feedback that was given to us in terms of the work that was being done, you could see that the NEMOS, the force that had been put together, was a very coordinated thing. It's something that was happening between the IGP, the CDS, the National Security Coordinator, and all of them. So it is important that she focuses on the task, that because now there is a team, and all of us would expect that this team would do the right thing.
And well, there are those who also hold the view that to the extent how huge this fight is and sophisticated it is, it wouldn't also be out of place to have the interagency approach as well. And so really, she also is being commended for leading another team in that regard, is it not?
No, you see, again, this morning on TV3, I was one of the people commending her, and I definitely commended her for the efforts she did prior to the setting up of this NEMOS. And the NEMOS is again, it's exactly the thing you're saying. It's a coordinated interagency operation. And the reason why it is important that we have some coordination is the fact that in the past we've had, some rogue forces. By the time you see it, that these people here, which is not coordinated. And now with the coordination that is taking place, and it's important that all of us support the particular fight, and she has a part to play. But in terms of the military, in terms of the law enforcement, she has to know, in as much as you and I, as civilians, have the right to, embark on citizens' arrest, if there is a central force actually carrying this out, it is important that Dr. Anabisu realizes that this is happening and works together with them. And that's the point I make this morning. If she's going to do it, she cannot go on her own tangent going to do that. We know what almost happened, where she could have lost her life. That's not what we want. We don't want martyrs in this particular situation. We need a coordinated approach to this particular thing. And I believe that it is important that this force that has been put together under the command of Kenabua is allowed to be able to work. And this thing does not speak well so far as this seeming lack of coordination between the central force that has been put together and this one. And I know based on the intelligence, that we get, is that even there are some elements, within other operators that are not happy of the fact that now there's a centralized way of doing it, because it now would prevent them from going on the floric of their own.
Right.
Now, when you're going to do this, you would need, so the situations where we had national security people go to a forestry commission place to go and, take excavate, all of that is not going to happen again, because there will be a central control, and the forestry commission would be in there, the water resource commission will be in there, the minerals commission will be part of it, working together with the military, working together with the police and national security. The central, command, it's really important in any of these law enforcement activities.
Engineer, I appreciate your time on this matter. Thank you so much for joining us. Engineer Dr. Ken Ashikpe is the newly appointed Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, and also the lead convener for the Ghana Coalition Against Illegal Mining. I want to say thank you so much for joining us here on behalf of the rest of the team. We're back again tomorrow for another conversation. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.